Okay. Definition of an isotope is the atoms of the same elements having same number of protons but different number of neutrons. We saw some examples of isotope, different elements. For example, if we see hydrogen element has 3 isotopes because atomic number is the identification of an element. If atom of any element has an atomic number of 1, it means that has to be an atom of hydrogen element. So we in nature, we actually find 3 hydrogen atoms. Why we are calling them the hydrogen atoms? Because all of them has an atomic number of 1. It means ये है तो hydrogen के isotopes. We cannot change it. However, if we see their mass number or nucleon number, they are different. It means they have different number of neutrons. But as their atomic numbers are all same, we are bound to call them the atoms of hydrogen element. Right? Again, the next example we saw isotopes of chlorine element. Chlorine element has 2 isotopes. अब ये 2 isotopes basically कहाँ से आते हैं? If we find the chlorine element anywhere in the nature, anywhere around the globe, we always find 2 chlorine atoms. Why we are calling them chlorine atom? Because their atomic number is 17. Both have an atomic number of 17. It means that there have to be an atom of chlorine element. However, if you remember, I asked you guys, if I give you 100 chlorine atoms, it doesn't matter वो chlorine कहाँ से आया है. If that chlorine is from Pakistan or UAE or America or England, जहाँ से भी आया है, if you separate 2 chlorine atoms, all those chlorine atoms having the mass number 35 and all those chlorine atoms having a mass number 37. So out of those 100 chlorine atoms, 25 atoms are with those with the mass number 35 and 75 atoms are those with the mass, sorry, I have ulta keh diya maine, 75 atoms are those with the mass number 35 and 25 atoms are those with the mass number 37. It means they are in fixed proportion in nature. अब हमें मिल ही इसी रहा है, ठीक है. इस तरह का नहीं है कि ये हमने फिक्स करा है या निकाला है, हमें मिल ही ऐसे रहा है. बट वी जस्ट हैव कैलकुलेटेड इट. हमने कैलकुलेट करा है, मेजर किया है, इसको पता लगाया है कि भाई नेचर में क्लोरीन ऑलवेज एग्जिस्ट एज 2 आइसोटोप, वन विद द मास नंबर 35, वन विद द मास नंबर 37. If we see the chlorine isotope with the mass number 35, it has 17 protons, 17 electrons, but 18 neutrons. If we see the chlorine isotope with the mass number 37, it has 17 protons, 17 electrons, but 20 neutrons. That's the difference between these 2 chlorine atoms. That's why we have to somehow differentiate between them. That's why we have given them different names and we are calling them isotopes of chlorine. Right? Okay. Dheeraj, your question is? Okay. Okay. Yes, Dheeraj, at the end of a class, I will guide you through the procedure. How can you just recover all the classes? I'll let you know. Okay, don't worry. Yes, Manur, obviously, they have some different physical properties. We will be discussing it under the heading chemical and physical properties of isotopes. अच्छा जी, अब यहाँ पे हम लोगों को थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम हुई थी क्योंकि ये थोड़ा सा फास्ट पढ़ा था, समझ नहीं आया था, तो इसको हम दोबारा पढ़ेंगे अबाउट आइसोटोपिक अबंडेंस. अब व्हाट आर आइसोटोपिक अबंडेंस? It has 2 names basically. These are known as isotopic abundance or sometimes examiner calls it relative abundance. The word abundance is basically a synonym to percentage. Instead of writing abundance, you can also use the word percentage. And what does it mean? For example, if I give you 100 chlorine atoms, it doesn't matter from where we have brought this chlorine. Out of those 100 chlorine atoms, you will always find 2 isotopes of chlorine, one with the mass number 35, the other ones with the mass number 37. And out of those 100 chlorine atoms, the number of chlorine 35 isotopes are near about 75 atoms. And chlorine 37 isotopes are near about 25 atoms. It's not necessary, it should always be 100. Let's say if it is 500, So as per, if you calculate the 75 atoms or 75% of 500, तो वो आ जाएगा number उसका. My maths, I'm not doing the maths right now, but I'm just trying to give you an idea कि अगर जितना भी क्लोरीन है, 75% of that chlorine atoms would have a mass equals to 35, and 25% of those chlorine atoms would have a mass equals to 37. ये हमने calculate करा है. How we have calculated it, it's not your concern. In your grade 11, up till your grade 11, you are not supposed to know how we have actually calculated these percentages, but you should remember these percentages. Syllabus नहीं कह रहा ये याद करो percentage, but I'll gonna ask you to remember these percentages. ये याद रखनी है आप. क्या percentages हैं? Chlorine 35 is present in 75% and chlorine 37 isotope is present in 25%. These percentages are known as isotopic abundance. इनको कहते हैं हम isotopic abundance. ठीक है, अब बताओ क्लियर है ये वाली बात यहां तक? किसी को कोई यहां तक तो क्वेरी नहीं है? Why do isotopes even exist? Why me and you exist in the world? ठीक है, is similar as many elements exist and different elements have different isotopes. They exist. ठीक है, अब किस तरह से ये बने थे, if you are gonna go into that detail, तो फिर तो हमें बिग बैंग पे जाना पड़ जाएगा. सही है मानू, ये नेचर में है. We haven't invented it, we have discovered it. Yes beta, you have it's better that you memorize these percentages, but if you cannot do it, it's okay. जरूरत नहीं है. No need to memorize it. I'm gonna write it as per syllabus requirement. No need to memorize it, but I would recommend you कि ये याद रखो. ये एक याद काम आएगा, आगे भी काम आएगा आफ्टर ऑल. ठीक है जी. अब देखो, now the problem is which isotope should we keep in the periodic table? If you see the periodic table, they haven't written chlorine 35 isotope or chlorine 37 isotope because we need to represent a chlorine element by one chlorine atom in the periodic table. If you see the periodic table, only one atom of that particular element is enough to represent all the atoms of that particular element around the globe. Now thing is, if any element has two or more than two isotopes, then which isotope should we use to represent that particular element? The question बनता है ना. ठीक है, अब if you see the periodic table, here they have written the isotope of chlorine with the mass number 35.5. Now there is no such isotope with the mass number 35.5. It is the nucleon number. If you remember, nucleon number is the sum of protons and neutrons. Protons are 17. From its atomic number, we can say protons are 17. But neutrons number cannot be in decimal. Neutron भाई पूरा neutron होगा ना, half neutron थोड़ी ना होगा. How come this 35.5 comes from? Actually, when we have to write the chlorine atom into the periodic table, do we have to decide either we should write chlorine with the mass number 35 or chlorine with the mass number 37? भाई किसी एक को तो रखना होगा. अब 35 को रख दोगे तो 37 बुरा मान जाएगा, 37 को रख दोगे तो 35 बुरा मान जाएगा. So in order to represent it correctly, what we did is we took the average of these two masses. We have chlorine 35 isotopes, chlorine 37 isotopes. We have to represent the mass number of chlorine atom. So we took the average of 35 and 37. If you recall from your mathematics, the syllabus D book जो आप पढ़ते हो, so average is, how do you calculate the average? You add up these two values and divide it by 2. This is only possible if both the percentages of both the isotope is 50-50%. अगर दोनों 50-50% होते ना तो दोनों को ऐड करके divide by 2 किया जाता. Here we have one isotope with the percentage of 75, the other isotopes with the percentage of 25. So we have to take the average on the basis of their percentages. Okay. Yes, Amna, we have to take the average on the basis of percentages. And how do you take average on the basis of percentages? 75% mass should be from the chlorine 35 isotope and 25% mass should be from the chlorine 37 isotope. it means you have to take 75%. How do you calculate the percentage? 75 over 100 into 35 plus 25 over 100 into 37. If you solve it, you will get 35.5. यहीं से तो आया है होल नंबर, तो डेसिमल आया है वहीं से तो आया है, by taking an average. So in order to represent a chlorine element, we have to use the chlorine with the mass number 35.5. ठीक है, उसको ऊपर लिख दो नीचे लिख दो, अब एक ही बात है. But the atomic number of chlorine will stay same, that is 70. अब समझ आई बात? Mariam, you just have to take the average. For example, recently we got the question in our exam. Question क्या था? Let me just give you an example from the past paper. The question was bromine element has two isotopes. They gave you the two bromine isotopes, one with the mass number 79, the other one with the mass number 81. And with that, they have also given you the relative abundances, the percentages of both of these isotopes. Relative abundance क्या थी? Bromine 79 had a relative abundance of 50%, and bromine 81, isotope of bromine 81 had a relative abundance of 50%. Both are in 50%, 50%. So can you find the average mass of both of these isotopes that we gonna use in the periodic table? पहले तो periodic table देखो, और from that periodic table you will see that none of these isotopes are being used to represent the bromine element in the periodic table. If you see the periodic table, here a bromine atom has a mass number of 80. We have two isotopes of bromine, one with the mass number 79 and one with the mass number 81. But here they have written 80. मतलब इन दोनों का average लिया. So both are in equal percentages. So we have to calculate the average value from the relative abundances given. चलो अब जल्दी से बेटा कैलकुलेटर्स उठाओ और मुझे निकाल के इसका आंसर बताओ, जल्दी जल्दी, शाबाश. सबने बताना है इसका आंसर क्या आ रहा है. ठीक है, देयर इज नो फिक्स फॉर्मूला, यू जस्ट हैव टू फाइंड द एवरेज. You just have to take the 50% mass of 79 and 50% of 81, and then you have to just take a sum of it. Add कर देना है दोनों. अबीहा, अदामी, आफरीन, अली, अलीजे, आमना, अनुषा, अनुशे, असद, मिनाफ, ज़ारा, ज़ैनब, उस्मान, माजिन, मिदत, and Minal. 80. Abu Bakr, why are you saying 80 protons? 80 should be the nucleon number, the mass number, no? 80 protons क्यों कह रहे हो बेटा इसको? This is the nucleon number. It means this is already the sum of proton plus neutrons. आप क्या करोगे? 50% of 79 and 50% of 81. 50% is percentage कैसे निकाल दो? 50 over 100 into 81 and 50 over 100 into 79, and just add up these two values. So you're gonna get 80. That's why in the periodic table they have written you the relative atomic mass or the nucleon number or the mass they have used to represent a bromine element. क्योंकि देखो भाई आप bromine 79 नहीं लिख सकते वहां पे. क्यों? क्योंकि भाई bromine 81 भी तो है. या तो आप दोनों को लिखो या फिर आप इनका एवरेज निकाल के लिख दो. और एवरेज निकालना है, देखो अगर एवरेज निकाल लो, इफ टू isotopes are not in equal proportions, अगर different percentages है तो percentage की basis पे एवरेज निकालोगे. इसलिए हमने यहाँ पे percentage की basis पे एवरेज निकाला है. 50% of 79, 50% of 81. हमेशा ऐसे ही करते हैं. Yes, Disha, we can also add both of these values and divide it by 2. Why? Because they are in equal proportion. अब ऐड करके डिवाइड बाय 2 कब करते हो? जब इक्वल प्रोपोर्शंस में होता है. जो 50-50% है ना, इसको हम पता है क्या बोलते हैं? दे आर इन इक्वल proportions or equal percentages. देखो ना, if you're gonna solve it, चलो हम इसको अगर solve करें तो 50 ones are 50 and 50 twos are 100. You'll get 79 over 2, and again 50 ones are 50, 50 twos are 100, 81 over 2. If you're gonna take the LCM between 2 and 2, that would be 2. But this will only happen if both the isotopes have 50-50% percentages. But some elements have more than 2 isotopes, तो उनकी तो percentage अलग अलग ही होगी ना. ठीक है. नादिया बच्चे, इसका फॉर्मूला बेसिकली अगर आप फॉर्मूला बना रहे हो तो फॉर्मूला हम जनरेट कर सकते हैं, खुद से बना सकते हैं फॉर आवर अंडरस्टैंडिंग वर्डिंग में, बट इट्स नॉट एन एग्जैक्ट फॉर्मूला. वी आर जस्ट टेकिंग द एवरेज. देखो ना, परसेंटेज ऑफ आइसोटोप 1 plus percentage of isotope 2 plus percentage of isotope 3, depending if that particular element have isotope 3 or not. ठीक है. If it has more than 3 isotope, तो आप add करते रहोगे ना, it will keep on adding. Denominator depends upon the denominator stays same, that should always be 100. देखो आपने percentages किस तरह से पढ़ा है वो अपने maths के अंदर. For example, if I asked you to find 78% of 5,000, how would you calculate the percentage of that 78%? In order to remove this percentage, you have to add 100 to the denominator, multiply by 5,000, because percentage is always out of 100. Percentage हमेशा out of 100 ही होता है. Yes, Abdullah, obviously it's a common sense, but you have to perform the calculation if he asked you to perform the calculation. But let's say if you're dealing with the chlorine, and if you can do it orally or mentally, that would be okay. But the right method is this, 75 over 100 into 35. अगर ये आप oral mind में कर लोगे तो it's okay, आप कर सकते हो. ठीक है वानिया, you got your answer? Acha, you are given the formula to find to revise to find the isotopic abundance. Formula you have to show me. Okay, because there is no such a specific formula that you need to remember. कोई याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है ना. It's just the average that you need to calculate. If you know how to calculate the average, that is it. फिर एक अपने लिए एक बर्डन क्रिएट ना करो ना कि एक फॉर्मूला याद करना पड़े. If you guys want, we can find a different question and we can try another question for it. लेकिन ये कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर करके चलना है, क्योंकि ये कॉन्सेप्ट इतना रियली टेस्ट हुआ है एग्जाम में कि आपको क्वेश्चंस मिलेंगे नहीं इस पे, और ये अब रिसेंटली आना शुरू हुआ है इस पे क्वेश्चन. चलें भाई, देख लिया. अनुशेल, वेट ट्राइंग अनदर एग्जांपल, तो हमें वहां से पता लग जाएगा. लेट मी गेट यू अनदर एग्जांपल फॉर दैट. ओके. I think I'll have to take an example for you guys. I have it. I have it. चलो मैं क्वेश्चन खुद ही बना देता हूँ। अच्छा, जैसे इग्नोर दिस क्वेश्चन, ये आपको नहीं देखना, बस लेट्स से देयर इज एन एलिमेंट गैलियम. Gallium has a symbol Ga, and we have two isotopes of gallium, one with the mass number 69 and one with the mass number 71. And the relative abundance or the percentage abundance of these two isotopes is 60.11% and 39.89%. Basically, this question is from A level, and why I have chosen from this file, because in O level or IGCSEs, they have recently started giving you these questions. So we're gonna try the questions from here. कुछ हमारे पास recent questions भी हैं, वो भी हम कर लेंगे अभी फाइल में, but it's better कि यहाँ से ट्राई कर लें एक दो, but it's very simple. Yes, Mariam, that's what I am saying. If you know the nucleon number or the mass number of that particular isotope, देखो mass of isotope into relative abundance, that's it, over 100. जिस परसेंटेज जिसको आप Na कह रहे हो, ठीक है, उसको डिवाइडेड बाय 100 किया और मल्टीप्लाई बाय मास कर दिया. So that's the way you always take the average. So you do not need to remember that formula. Percentage given है, percentage of gallium 69 isotope is given, which is 60.11. You just divide it by 100. That's how you calculate the percentages. Multiply by 69 plus the second isotope of gallium has a relative abundance of 39.89 over 100 multiply by 71. So if you take the sum of these two values, you will get the average mass of gallium that you will put in the product table, which is coming out to be 69.7978. Okay, sometimes he asks you to write to 2 decimal places, sometimes he asks you to write to 1 decimal place. So that's up to you. If he is asking you to write to up to 2 decimal places, then you can write it to 2 decimal places. The relative atomic mass of boron to 1 decimal place is 10.8. Determine the relative abundance of boron present in. Give your answer as a percentage. Basically, Vania, we are actually, this question is from A level. Okay? But again, हम ये करने जा रहे हैं इस तरह का क्वेश्चन अभी. ठीक है, चलो एक क्वेश्चन और करते हैं इसका. थोड़ा सा मुश्किल कॉन्सेप्ट है, वैसे पहले ये होता नहीं था, इस पे क्वेश्चंस नहीं आते थे, बट आफ्टर 2023 दे हैव एडेड इट एक्सटेंसिवली टू द पेपर, तो ये हम लोग कर रहे हैं इसलिए मुश्किल लग रहा है. क्वेश्चन अभी भी आसान आना है इसके. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से वी हैव एन एलिमेंट बोरॉन. बोरॉन का जो आइसोटोप्स हैं, वी हैव 2 आइसोटोप्स ऑफ बोरॉन. ठीक है, one with the mass number 10 and the other one with the mass number x. I'm not telling you the mass number of the other isotope, that is x. However, I have given you the relative abundances of the both the isotopes of boron. उसके लिए क्या लिखा हुआ है? For example, atomic mass of boron to 1 decimal place. If we calculate the average of these two isotopes, that would come out to be 10.8. ये average mass बता दिया हमने. ठीक है, so can you find the relative abundances of boron? हम परसेंटेज अबंडेंस इनकी निकाल सकते हैं, तो हम निकाल सकते हैं, बट you have to give the both the isotopes that determine the relative abundance of boron present. हाँ, नहीं वानिया बेटा, इस तरह से तो नहीं आएगा क्वेश्चन. आपको एटलीस्ट जो है ना वो कुछ गिवन होगा इसमें. इसमें तो बहुत सारी चीजें गिवन नहीं है. अगर आप इस तरह से करोगे तो हो तो जाएगा, बट इट विल बी क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट, जो कि ओ लेवल और आईजी के स्कोप से बाहर चला जाता है. मैं आपको पहले आपके उसके क्वेश्चन करवाता हूँ, फिर हम इस तरह के जो डिफरेंट क्वेश्चंस है ना, जो चैलेंजिंग क्वेश्चंस है, हम उस पर चलेंगे. देखो, लेट मी शो यू कि हमारे पास किस तरह से पूछा जा रहा है इसको. यस एलिजे, एक की अगर हम अबंडेंस बता दें तो इट वुड बिकम इजियर, बट वो एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू हम करते हैं, उसको करते हैं इस क्वेश्चन को, पहले थोड़ा सा सिंपल वाला काम करो फिर उसके बाद हम जंप करते हैं उस पे, ये ऐसा ना हो ना कि फिर परेशान हो जाओ। See question number 4 here. It is saying which statement about the isotopes of bromine is correct? They are the atoms with the same number of protons. ये तो बड़े सिंपल से है ना। अच्छा हमें मास वाला करते हैं बल्कि ना। पहले रुको, कैलकुलेशन वाला छोटा सा ना एक क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं, फिर ये थ्योरेटिकल क्वेश्चंस की तरफ आते हैं, ताकि आपका जो अबंडेंस वाला कॉन्सेप्ट है ना वो क्लियर हो जाए। Question number 28. Naturally occurring bromine has a relative atomic mass of 80. If he is saying it has a relative atomic mass of 80, it means the periodic table में जो bromine है उसका जो mass है वो 80 लिखा हुआ है. The periodic table they have written the atomic mass of bromine as 80, right? And consists entirely of two isotopes. But the bromine element has two isotopes, one with the mass number 79 and one with the mass number 81. If we have two isotopes of bromine, one with the mass number 79, the other one with the mass number 81, what can be deduced about the naturally occurring bromine from this information only? So actually what you have to do, हम इसको ना मुश्किल बना के इतना करना नहीं चाह रहे, but just for your understanding इसको थोड़ा सा हम लोग ना मुश्किल बनाते हैं, पहले सॉल्व करते हैं, फिर मैं आपको इसका शॉर्टकट बता दूंगा, ठीक है? Let's say we have only two isotopes of bromine and we do not know the percentage of these two isotopes, right? हमें इनकी percentage नहीं पता, but if we only have two isotopes and let's say if we give percentage to one of the isotope as x%, percentage हमेशा total 100 होता है. One isotope has a percentage x%, the other isotope must have a percentage 100 minus x%, right or wrong? If one of the isotope has a percentage x%, the other isotope must have a percentage 100 minus x%. अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ ना कि we have 20% oranges and 80% apples, तो 100 में से ही कर रहे हैं ना. अगर मुझे 20% oranges हैं तो कितने परसेंट एप्पल्स होंगे? वो 100 का होगा, 20 में से जो बचा है 100 का पार्ट वो 80% है, राइट? Now if we take the average of both of these isotopes on the basis of their percentage is given, the average value we're gonna get should be 80. For example, x% of x divided by 100, if we take the percentage of x% of 79, x over 100 into 79, and 100 minus x over 100 into 81, then the average value of these two masses should be equals to 80. So that's how we can find the percentage of both of these isotopes. If we find the x, the other isotope's percentage would be 100 minus x. You can algebraically solve these values. It's very easy. It's 79x over 100 plus 100 minus x into 81 over 100 is equals to 80. If you take 100 as LCM between these two fractions, you're gonna get 79x in the numerator, 81 को multiply कर दो bracket से, 8100 into 81x and is equals to 80. If you solve it for x, you will get the value of x. But again, as Vania asked me some question, so that's how we can solve this question. But as far as the grade 11 is concerned, ना बच्चे इस तरह से जुल्म आपके साथ नहीं करेगा. The at most he can ask you is he will give you the percentages of 2 or 3 isotopes. He will give you the masses of 2 or 3 isotopes, and you will just be supposed to find the average on the basis of their percentages. He won't be asking you to find the percentage. But that's the question that होता है, A level में होता है, but up till grade 11 ऐसा question नहीं आएगा. ठीक है, so don't worry about it. लेकिन अब हम इस क्वेश्चन को आंसर कैसे करें? ठीक है, if we see the two isotopes have the mass is 79 and 81, and if we add 79 and 81 and if we divide it by 2, we will get 80. It means if we are getting the average value on taking the sum and dividing it by 2, it means both the isotopes must be in 50-50%. अगर दो 50-50% है तो out of 100 there is only one possibility of having equal proportion. मतलब equal percentage का एक ही possibility है. मैं आपसे ये कहना चाह रहा हूं, can you divide 100 into equal proportions? किस तरह से डिवाइड करोगे? 50% and 50%. क्या कोई और पॉसिबिलिटी है 100 को दो इक्वल पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करने की अपार्ट फ्रॉम 50-50%? है ही नहीं. If you're taking 40% on one side, then the other side would be equal to 60%. So there is only one possibility. No, Abdullah not dividing it into 4 parts. They have to divide it into 2 parts, but in equal proportion, right? So it means both of the isotopes, on taking the average of the masses of both of the isotopes, if we are getting the value 80, which is the relative atomic mass of bromine, it means both of the isotopes must be in equal proportions, or they must be in the ratio 50%, 1:1 or 50-50. If you see the options, they are saying bromine isotopes have different number of protons. Isotopes की तो definition ही यही है, atoms of the same elements having same number of protons. So how can we say they have different number of protons? वो तो same होंगे. That's why A is wrong. Bromine contains two isotopes in equal proportion. Yes, that is correct. But let's say if you are unable to solve it, or if you are unable to deduce this, कि यार ये कितना मुझे कैसे पता है 79 और 81 है, क्लिक नहीं हुआ. But if you study the rest of the other options, तो वो गलत होते जाएंगे. अभी हम आगे पढ़ेंगे, ब्रोमीन इज नॉट अ रेडियोएक्टिव आइसोटोप, तो ये भी हमें पता होगा. सी में कह रहा है ब्रोमीन हैज डिफरेंट ऑक्सीडेशन स्टेट, ये हम आगे ट्रांजिशन एलिमेंट्स में पढ़ेंगे. डिफरेंट ऑक्सीडेशन स्टेट इज अनदर वर्ड फॉर डिफरेंट चार्जेस, एंड different charges can only be possessed by transition elements which are in between group 2 and group 3. bromine is not a transition element, इसलिए C भी नहीं होगा इसका आंसर. बट अगेन ये वाली चीजें हमें आगे वाले चैप्टर्स में पढ़नी है, तो ये हमें वहां पे पता होंगी. बट राइट नाउ what you have studied, if you see it in the option B, he is saying bromine contains two isotopes in equal proportion. You are not supposed to remember the percentages, you just have to compare these two values. If you take the average of these two values by dividing it by 2, you will get 80. It means कि डिवाइड बाय 2 से मास नंबर बन रहा है, इट मींस 50-50% है. 50-50% मतलब इक्वल प्रोपोर्शंस है. प्रोपोर्शन इज अनदर वर्ड फॉर परसेंटेज. समझ आई बात? थोड़ा सा हमने ऊपर जाके पढ़ लिया इसको, बट अभी आइसोटोप्स के और क्वेश्चंस पे आते हैं. इतना मुश्किल नहीं आते इसके क्वेश्चन, परेशान नहीं हो. और देखें कुछ क्वेश्चन, या इसी टाइप का और कुछ देखना है? जल्दी से मुझे जल्दी 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 बता दो. More questions, more questions. Mhm, mhm. Okay, then let me find more questions for you. चलो और देख लेते हैं. रिकॉर्डिंग ऑन की थी हमने. ओ यस. चलो बेटा. This question in your notes. Okay, let's do this question. Here it's saying calculate the you have to calculate the average relative atomic mass of lead. Lead has a symbol Pb using the information below. Now the isotopes of lead, we have 4 isotopes of lead. One lead with the mass number 204, the other with the mass number 206, and the third one with the mass number 207, and then 208. And the relative abundances of all these isotopes are given in front of you. Okay, 𝐲𝐸𝐬, this chapter has ended already. We are just doing the past papers. Okay, we just have to study about the chemical and physical properties. वो अभी हम पढ़ लेते हैं in the last 5 minutes, or then we just do the past paper in the next class. Yes, beta, can you find the average mass of lead or relative average atomic mass of lead by using these isotopic abundances? Here we do not have 2 isotopes, we have 4 isotopes. So you have to take the average of all the 4 isotopes on the basis of their percentages. ठीक है, नीचे वाला क्वेश्चन नहीं करना है, ये ऊपर वाला करना है, बस इसको छोड़ दो. जल्दी से आंसर बताओ. 2% of first isotope has a mass 204 plus 24% of 206 plus 22% of 207 plus 52% of 208. So you have to divide every percentage by 100 and then you have to multiply by its isotopic mass. Mariam, you got it now? This is the same formula, but you don't need to remember this. You just have to remember the method. You have to divide the percentage given by 100. Then you have to multiply this fraction by the isotopic mass given for that particular element. Got it now? कितना बन रहा है भाई इसका आंसर? कैलकुलेटर्स है? टू 207.22. वेरी गुड. ठीक है जी. फॉर्मूला तो फॉर्मूले की हमें जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी इसमें. जस्ट रिमेंबर द मैटर. 207.22. ठीक है भाई. आई थिंक दीज आर मोर देन इनफ फॉर रिलेटिव अबंडेंसेस. इससे ज्यादा आगे एडवांस करने की हमें जरूरत नहीं है. वी हैव सम क्वेश्चंस जो कि मैंने टेस्ट के लिए बचा के रखा हुआ है, वो मैं टेस्ट में दूंगा आपको. ठीक है, तो वो हम आप प्रैक्टिस करेंगे टेस्ट. Now the last topic of this chapter is the chemical and physical properties of isotopes. उसको भी कर लेते हैं आज, ताकि coming class में we'll just do the past paper of this chapter and then we'll be done by it. चलो भाई. Properties of isotopes. In chemistry, whenever we are talking about properties, always remember we have 2 types of properties. One is chemical properties and one is physical properties. Okay, one type is your chemical properties. Chemical properties are basically the way anything reacts. कौन सी चीज किस चीज के साथ react करेगी और कैसे react करेगी, that is known as chemical property. ये आगे बहुत आएगा. यही तो बातें हैं केमिस्ट्री में सारी। व्हाट इज द केमिकल प्रॉपर्टी, व्हाट इज द फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टी, किस चीज की केमिकल प्रॉपर्टी क्या है, किस चीज की फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टी क्या है, सब यही है। एंड देन वी हैव फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टी। अब chemical property is basically related to the reaction of anything, and the physical property is related to different things like the appearance of a substance, or you can say the mass of a substance or melting point of a substance. But right now you are not supposed to remember these values, but I'm just telling you for your understanding. You have to remember, if we are actually studying these properties with relation to isotopes. Isotopes को सामने रखते हुए हम केमिकल और फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज की बात करना चाह रहे हैं। अब केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज बेसिकली डिपेंड्स अपॉन number of electrons. If two particles have same number of electrons, it means they have same chemical properties. If two particles, but the word particle I means it can be an atom or an ion. Okay, collectively the word particle is used for atom or ion. If two particles, they may be two atoms or they may be two ions. If two particles have same number of electrons, they have same chemical properties. For example, let's say we have two isotopes of bromine, one with the mass number 79, one with the mass number 81. But their atomic number are same and they both are atoms. Because if we are saying these are two isotopes, it means they must be in their atomic form, because isotopes ki definition starts from the word atom. It means they have zero charge over them. So it means both of these isotopes have same number of protons, which is equals to 35 and same number of electrons, which is equals to 35. If these two atoms have same number of electrons, it means they must have same chemical properties. Why? Because they have same number of electrons. अच्छा, अब जरूरी नहीं है कि आइसोटोप्स की ही केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज सेम हो. We can have one particular atom or one particular ion, they also may have same chemical properties. For example, you guys know what sodium atom is. Sodium atom has 11 electrons, 2, 8, 1 is the electronic configuration of sodium atom. But let's say if this sodium atom has lost an electron to form a sodium ion, sodium atom loses 1 electron. So now after losing 1 electron, how many electrons this ion has? 10 electrons. And if we compare this sodium ion with a neon atom, neon has an atomic number of 10. It means it has how many electrons? 10 electrons. So both of these particles, one sodium ion, the other neon atom, they have same number of electrons. It means they have same chemical properties. So these two have same chemical properties, a sodium ion and a neon atom. And two bromine isotope, one with the mass number 17 and one with the mass number 81. They have different mass number. They have different number of neutrons. However, they have same number of electrons, or on the basis of same number of electrons, they have same chemical properties. You got my point? So for any two particles to have same chemical properties, they must have same number of electrons. However, if we compare physical properties actually depends upon, physical property किस चीज पे depend करता है? It depends upon two things. Physical properties depends upon physical property depend करती है mass पे. It depends upon mass and charge of particle. If two particles have same mass and same charge, they must have same physical properties. However, chemical properties depend upon number of electrons. अगर किसी दो चीजों का सेम मास है, it means they have same physical properties. If they have same charge, it means they have same physical properties. So both must be same. दोनों का सेम होना जरूरी है. G1 here. Asking something?
सर मैं पूछी थी अगर खाली मास सेम हो और चार्ज डिफरेंट हो तो भी सेम फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज होंगी.
दोनों का सेम होना जरूरी है.
ओके.
For example, we have chlorine with the mass number 35 और एक क्लोराइड आयन है, ठीक है, और इस पे भी 35 है. अच्छा, एटॉमिक नंबर दोनों का 17 है, राइट? तो क्या इनके नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स इक्वल है? If we see the chlorine atom, it has 17 electrons and the chloride ion has 18 electrons. So they have different chemical properties. Chemical properties तो number of electrons देख के हमने decide कर ली, right? What about physical properties? अब physical properties में they both have same mass number. Both have 35 mass number. So not just on the basis of mass, you cannot decide that they should have same physical properties. मास के साथ साथ चार्ज भी सेम होना मस्ट है, because the charge over chlorine atom is 0 and the charge over chloride ion is -1. Although their masses are equal, but their charges are not equal. So it means they have different physical properties. फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज सेम होने के लिए मास भी सेम हो और साथ में चार्ज भी सेम होना जरूरी है. दोनों का साथ में सेम होना जरूरी है. समझ आती है बाकी लोगों को ये बात? सिर्फ मास का सेम होना काफी नहीं है, चार्ज भी सेम होगा. इनमें से कोई भी एक चीज डिफरेंट है तो डिफरेंट फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज है. हाँ, अगर दोनों सेम सेम है, मास मास भी सेम है, चार्ज चार्ज भी सेम है, तो फिर फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज सेम है, और इलेक्ट्रॉन्स इक्वल है तो केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज सेम है. ठीक है जी. अब फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज अपीयरेंस भी आ जाता है, मेल्टिंग पॉइंट, बॉइलिंग पॉइंट, बहुत सारी चीजें आती है, वो हम बाद में देखेंगे. राइट नाउ वी आर कंसर्न विद फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज रिलेटेड टू आइसोटोप्स. अगर हम किसी भी एलिमेंट के कोई भी आइसोटोप्स ले लें, दैट्स इट, कार्बन एलिमेंट has 3 isotopes. Carbon 1 with the mass number 12, 1 with the mass number 13, 1 with the mass number 14. These all are in atomic form and they all have atomic number 6. If we see their number of protons are all 6, but we are not concerned with the number of protons, because when we have to see the physical and chemical properties, we have to deal with number of electrons, charge and mass. But if we see the number of electrons, so इनके सबके number of electrons are also 6. If the number of electrons are 6, it means all of these isotopes have same chemical properties. But if we see their mass number, all of these isotopes have different mass number. First one is 12, second one is 13, and the last one is 14. On the basis of difference in masses, they have different physical properties. तो हम एक अपना एक शॉर्ट रूल बना लेते हैं आइसोटोप्स के लिए, हमेशा सेम. देखो, आइसोटोप्स ऑफ सेम एलिमेंट, मतलब एक ही एलिमेंट के आइसोटोप को कंपेयर करने, कार्बन और ब्रोमीन को करने नहीं बैठ जाना, वो तो फिर अलग अलग ही हो जाएगा ना मास नंबर उनका. आइसोटोप्स ऑफ सेम एलिमेंट ऑलवेज हैव सेम dash properties due to same number of dash but always have different dash properties due to different dash. जरा फिल करो इसको जल्दी से. Isotopes of the same element, they always have same chemical properties. Why? Because अगर एक ही एटम के एक ही एलिमेंट के आइसोटोप्स हैं तो उन सबका नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हमेशा सेम होगा, बिकॉज दे हैव सेम नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, बट दे ऑलवेज हैव डिफरेंट physical properties. Why their physical properties are different? Because isotopes have different masses. Isotopes तो बनेंगे ना जब different masses होंगे. Yes. So chemical properties depends upon number of electrons only, and physical properties depend upon charge as well as mass. But in case of isotopes, for example, if we are comparing the two isotopes of, let's say, sodium. Sodium has two isotopes, one with the mass number 11 and one with the mass number 12. Sorry, not 11 and 12, one with the mass number 23 and one with the mass number 24. Because we know their number of electrons are equal, both are atoms. It means the charge are also same. Charge is 0 on both because both are in atomic form, 0 charge hai. But if we see the mass number on one atom is 23, mass number or the nucleon number on the other isotope is 24. So on the basis of same number of electrons, isotopes of the same element, they always have same chemical properties. Chemical properties हमेशा isotopes की same होंगी अगर वो एक ही element के isotopes हैं. लेकिन physical properties कभी same हो ही नहीं सकती उनकी. क्यों? क्योंकि charge तो बेशक same है, but their masses are different ना. आइसोटोप है ही तब वो क्योंकि मास डिफरेंट है. अगर उसका भी दूसरे वाले का भी मास सेम होगा तो फिर वो आइसोटोप थोड़ी, वो सेम एटम है. Right? So isotopes of the same element, they always have same chemical properties because they have same number of electrons, because their atomic number are same now. But they always have different physical properties. Why their physical properties are different? They have zero charges. Charges are same, but masses are different. So in order for the physical properties to be same, both the charge and mass should be equal. Charge तो equal है लेकिन mass तो नहीं है ना. इनमें से कोई भी एक चीज unequal है तो physical properties different है. ठीक है. अब आइसोटोप्स ऑफ द सेम एलिमेंट, कहीं ऐसे नहीं करना कि जस्ट लेट्स स्टार्ट कंपेयरिंग आइसोटोप ऑफ कार्बन एंड ब्रोमीन. बोथ हैव डिफरेंट नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स एज वेल एज डिफरेंट नंबर ऑफ न्यूट्रॉन्स. तो डिफरेंट मास भी डिफरेंट है, चार्ज भी डिफरेंट, सॉरी मास भी डिफरेंट है, नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स भी डिफरेंट है. तो इन दोनों की तो केमिकल प्रॉपर्टीज और फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज डिफरेंट ही होंगी ना. दे हैव डिफरेंट केमिकल एंड फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज. गॉट इट? ये चीजें याद रखनी है आपको. Coming, we are done with this chapter, atomic structure. In coming class, we will do some MCQ paper. We will do some theory papers. उसके बाद, we will obviously, a time will come when will we gonna schedule your test. Test के बगैर तो गुजारा नहीं है. Okay, Mariam, just a moment. We're gonna start the chapter element mixture and compounds. एक्चुअली केमिकल बॉन्डिंग भी साथ ही स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. उसके एलिमेंट मिक्सचर एंड कंपाउंड्स पढ़ेंगे. वी विल रिवाइज फॉर्मूला मेकिंग एंड देन वी विल मूव ऑन टुवर्ड्स केमिकल बॉन्डिंग. बहुत छोटा सा चैप्टर है, चैप्टर नहीं है, बीच में हमने बस एक टॉपिक बनाया हुआ है उसको. ओके, पीछे करना है मरियम. कहाँ तक? अबंडेंस वाला. यस धीरज, आप पूछ सकते हैं मुझसे बिल्कुल. व्हाटएवर यू नीड टू आस्क बेटा. क्लास हमारी खत्म हो गई है. दोस्त हु वांट टू लीव दे कैन लीव. दोस्त हु हैव टू आस्क एनी क्वेश्चन दे कैन स्टे. Okay.